after a mad rush from the office, here. We are. You had a bit of a mad rush to make it, right? Which is why we're a little bit late, but there's no issue.
Yeah, so like I wasn't expecting it. So like normally I get here like 30 minutes early, and but something I don't know, something's weird on the road now, or
Yeah, don't stress
it's
it, mate.
probably no. Let me rephrase that. It's something normal on the road now. It's back to normal.
Don't don't say that. I was hoping for at least another month or so of reduced traffic. I love it personally. But there we go, man. How you doing? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm doing well. How about you? There you have a nice stop there, Flamingo,
Thank
eh?
you. Yeah, flamenco. Yeah, I think it's the 50th anniversary top or something like that. I wore this to the mall for about 3 or 4 months ago, and I
Mm.
got stopped. I got stopped by somebody who said, "Are you from Brazil?" Well, clearly, clearly no.
I didn't know that you're Latin American.
I don't think I look Latin American to start with, but and it's always a good conversation point. I always remember my dad, God rest his soul. I got to a certain standard in school playing rugby, right? I
Uh
played for my
huh.
county. I went on to play a little bit further, but initially I started playing at sort of my county level, and I got a tie as kind of a well done. And my dad, I remember my dad telling me, he said, "Wear that tie so that because it had the emblem on it." He said it's always a good starting point in a conversation if you're kind of meeting somebody new. So yeah, my dad was pretty decent with stuff like that. He kind of knew how to play people. Anyway, we're not here to speak about my dad and his skills. We're here to talk about one, if not your favorite author, right? So we're here to talk about Neil Gaiman, mate. Right?
Hmm.
So I think
Yep.
we touched on it briefly last week. So let's probably do a little bit more of an in-depth dive on it now. So, what initially attracted you to Neil Gaiman, and for the audience out there, mate, where would you say is your jump off point for Neil Gaiman? Because he's got a wide range uh, of um, published materials out there, right? There's a wide range. So where would you, yeah, like to kind of talk about what you first got into, how you first got into him, and then what's your advice for somebody who's looking to get into the Neil Gaiman universe, if we let's call it like that.
Mhm. I encountered Neil Gaiman when he was still writing the Sandman series, and Sandman then for DC before he took over is totally different from what he wrote. He envisioned Sandman differently, totally different from the what DC had really launched. So that got me hooked. It got my interest. This is different. So I was able to read the comics, and it was really nice. I really liked it. Now, when he published his first book, which is American Gods, I quickly bought it because I really loved the Sandman series, and
Mm-hmm.
then I it was I I didn't I was not expecting anything because I don't want because since he's already my favorite writer in comic books. I don't want to expect anything because this is a totally different medium, and I know it's still written word, but it's totally different. So I wasn't expecting anything because I don't want to be disappointed. Because he is my favorite. I'm being biased because he's my favorite author. And when I read American Gods, I was just blown away. It was better than I thought. I loved it so much, and I want him to continue to write. That I I took it personal that I have to help him out. I want his novels. I want it to be selling. So I bought like 8 copies of it and gave it to my friends. So
Wow.
yeah, I gave it to my friends. So I bought 8 copies. I have now recently, like 3 years ago, I bought the American Gods with extra 1,000 words in there, and so I'm still buying. I'm still buying the book. So there. And then from after that, I it was Stardust, Neverwhere, and then Good Omens. Good Omens, I bought like 4 books of it because it was so good. I
Mm.
gave one to Craig, which is a common friend of ours. He was
Yeah.
supposed to read it. It was supposed to be a book that he's going to read on the flight home, because I said, "Do you have a book to read on the flight home?" Because I know it's going to be like 12 hours or so, right?
Yeah.
From the
Yeah.
Philippines to the UK. Yeah, so I gave him the book. So he he still had one day to spend here in the Philippines before he flies. And the next day he came back to me and said, "The I've already read this much. I only have like 2 chapters left." The book was so good. He said it was so funny that uh he, he was not able to wait for the flight, and he just finished the book. So there, it is really, it's that good that his plots, his concepts, and it's totally different. For example, Neverwhere was totally different from American Gods. American Gods was totally different from Good Omens. So the way Rolling Stone interviewed him and made an article about him, and he was coined as the rock star of authors.
Wow.
hmm So that's
Wow.
yeah, it is really, and you've read the Neil Gaiman. It's totally different, uh, especially when he took on the Norse mythology. Norse
Yes.
when I was reading Norse mythology, it was boring. It was totally boring. I read it. Yeah, I want to know more about Norse mythology, but it's not something that it's like I'm reading a transcript, or like like it feels like I'm reading statistics. There you go. But when he wrote Norse mythology, it was exciting. I really loved it, the way he wrote he he portrayed the characters. It never deviated away from the real mythology, the real Norse mythology. So
So,
there.
yeah. So so my journey into the Neil Gaiman universe is a little bit different to yours, although there is some similarities. So I didn't start with Sandman. Um, I started with the ocean at the end of the road. That was,
Mm-hmm.
oh, sorry, the ocean at the end of the lane. That
Mm-hmm.
was the one that I got into. That was real my first introduction to Neil Gaiman that I loved. I then went down the Neverwhere route. I also the Graveyard Book. It's kind of got a kid's connotation to it, but it's not for kids, right? It's it's a fantastic book. That was something that I really really enjoyed. The Graveyard Book. American Gods, very similar to yourself. Good Omens is a wonderful book, an absolutely wonderful book that had me howling at some points. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, and it's written in conjunction with Terry Pratchett, right? And at
Mm-hmm.
no point in the book can you tell it's written by two authors. That's how well it's written. How I got into Sandman was purely by default. So we started to watch Lucifer
Mm-hmm.
on Netflix, right? So Lucifer was bought by Netflix. So we started to watch that, and I like to do a little bit of research in terms of if I'm watching a TV program. I go, hang on, there's a bit of a backstory here. So what I found was that the Lucifer in Lucifer is actually based from Sandman, right? And there's
Yeah.
Neil Gaiman's actually done Lucifer Sandman comics, right? So as a result, I then went out and bought the comic or the graphic novel, I guess, right? So I bought the Sandman, and now I'm listening to the audiobook, the Sandman audiobook, and it is one of the best, if not the best, audiobooks I've listened to. The production values are out of this world, honestly, but the characterization of particularly of Dream by James McAvoy is
Mm-hmm.
is wonderful. He's got the voice. He just delivers it to a T. So yeah, if you've not already, even if you have already read the graphic novels of Sandman, get into it. Honestly, get that audio book. it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And as a result, they're going to do a Sandman series on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Which promises to be excellent. Promises to be excellent. So let's say there's somebody out there right now who's listening to the wonderful Jet, and they're going, "Oh, Jet, wow, I really want to get into Neil Gaiman." Where would you say where's your starting point for somebody that maybe has never got into any type of graphic novels? They may have heard of Neil Gaiman, they may not have heard of him. Where would you say you start for a nice introduction to the gaming world?
If if you're interested in Neil Gaiman and what we're talking about, and you've never touched a fantasy novel or something in that effect, I suggest you go with Graveyard Book. That's uh, that's
Yeah,
that's where you're. It's like a common ground for everybody. It would touch on your childhood. It would touch on how you view the cemetery and all, and your relationship with your guardians, your parents, and whatever. So that's the best starting point, and then you could move on to Good Omens, and it's very you're going to laugh out loud at the very start of the novel. It's something that you're really going to. We don't want to give away the plot, but because the it's in the first few pages that is you're going to find out. So it's very interesting. And then after that I suggest you go to Nancy Boys. Why? Because it's
ah,
yeah, it's totally different from the first books that we've mentioned, and there's a bit of musical into it. So if you're into it, so and then eventually progress to American Gods, which is very thought provoking. Like, and you will find out why is it called American Gods, and it has something to do with people from Europe coming over to America, and so I don't want to give it away, so you have to
don't
read it.
spoil it.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't spoil it. So the one of the novels that you mentioned there is not one I've read. So Anansi Boys, is that how you pronounce
Anansi
it? So what's
Boys.
Anansi Boys? So and actually that was turned into, I believe, a Radio 4 play.
Oh yeah.
So I actually need to listen. Yeah, it was right. So
Mhm.
what's the story there? Because I've not read it. What's the story there, mate? Without giving too much
Oh,
away. Don't give too much away, right?
okay. Um, it's let's how am I going to put it? It's very much linked into American Gods, with in
Really?
terms of of beings of supernatural powers and anti-hero and those things. So, and the catch there is, why did I say musical? The characters will break out into a song
In the book? Really?
in the book. Yes.
I've not
It's
read it. I need to
totally
get around to
from
that.
it's like yeah, it's totally different. It's like and he pulled it off really, really brilliantly. It was brilliant. I mean, I wasn't expecting it because I've read several books of his, and then all of a
Hmm.
sudden it's this. It's like, wait, did he just write a musical? It's like after you read them, it's like, was it a musical that I just read? So, um, you should read it. You should read it. If I could find one, I'll send it to you.
Oh no, no,
Uh,
I'll get it. I'll get it on Kindle. But well, okay,
uh-huh.
I'll do that. Actually, I'm going to look at it right now. Well, actually, we finished this live stream, and I think that'll be a purchase for mine. One of Neil Gaiman attributes that I really enjoy when I'm reading his book is particularly from the Sandman perspective, right? So the Sandman's set in a fantasy world, um, but there's obviously a lot of the book is based in our reality too, right? As
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
the earth as we know it. And what I like is how he makes real life events intertwine seamlessly into the fantasy world, whereas you're actually I'm reading it now, and the audiobook. So I'm listening to the audiobook, and it's the part of the Sandman story where he's gone back to meet William Shakespeare, and he's doing the Midsummer Night's Dream, right? And you scratch your head, going, look, I know this is fantasy, I know it is, but the way that he's done it, right? And you go, so wait, did he really meet Dream all those years ago? Because he just manages to bring it to life in such an easy way that you go, whoa. All right. And I think that, yes, he's a wonderful storyteller. He really is. But I think for me, one of his main attributes is the way that he can seamlessly intertwine the reality that we know and then introduce his kind of ever expanding fantasy world, or the Gaiman universe, into kind of, yeah, what we live and breathe. I think it's a God-given talent, and I don't say that very often, mate. It's amazing. Of course it is. He's a world-renowned author. He's excellent, and I love his voiceovers. So the audiobook is voiced over by him, and then he also did an episode of Lucifer, didn't he? He was the narrator on. Well, he wasn't the narrator. He had a different title on that episode, but he did the voiceover. So yeah, wonderful, mate. He's just a talented dude, and he's so down to earth, right? He's just a great guy, right?
Mm. He So when I read American books, I was curious how he came up with that idea. I researched and looked for articles, and there was an interview that same how he was able to conjure that beautiful book. He said his first time in America, when he traveled from the East Coast to West Coast, or the other way around, he just went across the United States. So he was just taking notes, and he saw a lot of the things that he mentioned there, places he was actually there. He was able to visit a motel, uh, a monument. He was able to visit those, and he so along the way he was able to come up with that story. And he said that, again, I'm not, without giving away, if most of these people are from Europe, how come there's almost no trace of anything European?
No,
So
I know,
there you
because
go.
he's not American, right? Neil Gaiman isn't American, but there's a lot of his stories, particularly, well, obviously, American Gods, is set in the US, and that's a wonderful story. I
Mhm.
stumbled across that because it was an Amazon program, right? Amazon launched. I've not watched the program. I just read the book, and I thought the book was fantastic. I'm a little bit apprehensive about watching the program because I don't do horror. I
Uh-huh,
struggle a little bit with it. My brain can't differentiate the difference between that's really not going to happen, and oh my god, that's going to keep me up at night, right? So I
yeah.
do struggle with that. So I'm a little bit apprehensive about. But quickly going back to Good Omens, I thought Amazon did a wonderful interpretation of the book into the
Mhm.
TV series, right? I thought the way they carried it, the casting, David Tennant, I thought and Martin Sheen, a fellow Welsh guy, fellow Welsh, and hopefully we'll be cheering on Wales against England this weekend in the Six Nations. But I digress. I digress. I thought they did a great job, right? Would you agree? Were you happy with the TV series of Good Omens?
Yes, especially when they announced the cast. I
Mm.
am a fan of Michael Sheen, and I knew he will be able to pull it off perfectly. And the first pictures that came out with him in that character, I said, "Yep, that's how I envisioned it." And it was very good, and he did well. He did well. Aside from something anecdotal,
Yeah,
yes, he is Welsh, but he was almost signed by Arsenal when he was 12.
no, I know, right? We've had that discussion on the previous live stream. So yeah,
Yeah.
he's just one of these. When you just meet somebody, right, and it doesn't matter what they do, they're good at it naturally, right? They're just good at it. I am not one of those people, right? I'm far too clumsy, and anyway, but he's just a talented guy, and I don't know if you know, but him and David Tennant during lockdown, they've been doing like this streaming. They just talk. It's a comedy. It's set up at BBC on BBC Three, so you can stream it through the BBC iPlayer, and it's actually online if you follow the BBC Player on Facebook and what have you. It's very, very funny. There's some swear words in there just for our audience, maybe not for kids, but it's very, very funny. There's him. So there's Michael Sheen. There's David Tennant. There's also Jane Dudy Dent makes an appearance too. So it's very, very funny. It's very funny. I highly recommend it to some viewing if you've got like 10 or 15 minutes to kill. Cool, man.
Yeah,
Cool.
their chemistry is really good, and that's what I was expecting. And because the way you read the book, Good Omens, it was the chemistry of those two characters, and they were able to translate it in the film and between those two actors. So it was really, really brilliant. It was well made. It was.
I agree, man.
Very well made.
I loved it. I was apprehensive because I loved the book so much, but I thought they did. I thought they were very true to the book. But more importantly, they also delivered a great TV series. So, wonderful, mate. So, listen, we've probably got maybe the last couple of minutes of today's live stream about Neil Gaiman. Anything else you want to share? Did he visited the Philippines? Did he? And did you get the chance to meet him or something?
No, when he visited twice here in the Philippines and signed. He had a book signing. It was done in Rockwell in Makati. The queue was like what a kilometer long of stemming out from the mall. It's not even until they've put up like a tent there the next day for him to, because it's already getting in the way of the traffic in the mall, so they have to set up a tent, and there was a long queue. I wasn't able to. I did queue up, but I just didn't make it. But it was very interesting. He dived into our mythology. He encouraged our local writers to be published, and he. The one thing that he's really good at is mythology. Any mythology, may it be Asian, may it be European, may it be any mythology from somewhere else, he knows something about it. In fact, there's one anime that I've watched, which is Princess Mononoke. When I said it has a Neil Gaiman feel to it when I was watching it, and then I wait for the credits, and lo and behold, his name was there.
He did. I think he did. Did he do a Doctor Who episode as well?
Yeah, he did. Yes.
Right. Hang on, just let me check. Do you remember what the Doctor Who episode was?
No, I can't remember. But yeah, I know he did.
Hang on, just checking now, mate. Oh, he did it with. Oh, he did it with the one where the TARDIS came to life with Matt Smith. Do you remember the one where? Yeah, that was the one that he did. Yeah, just researching it there. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
That was brilliant. Wow. All right, mate. So listen, we've got I think we're probably coming to the end of it. I really appreciate you giving up your free time. I love these conversations. I love how much you know about the subject, but more importantly, your genuine passion and love for these things that we talk about. So we've done Neil Gaiman. Last week was just an introduction, kind of holistically over the fantasy world and what our shared likes are and shared passions are. What do you want to discuss next week, my friend? Have you got anything you want to discuss?
I think we haven't really dissected Star Wars too much. I mean, we've touched on it. I think we should really dive into it, all those films from 1 to 9 and the standalone films.
Okay, so how about this? Can you know TJ? Why don't you reach out to TJ and Shello, because they're Star Wars fans as well, right?
Yeah.
And see if they'll come on, and we can maybe have a large panel discussion about Star Wars. And if there's anybody out there that wants to join us next, so we normally record at 5 p.m. right? 5 p.m. local time, which is 9 a.m. in the UK. So if anybody wants to join us, actually come on the live stream. We can do that. Let us know. So we're going to talk all things Star Wars, the 1 to 9 films, the standalone films, and also the animated series. So, guys, if you want to be part of this discussion, then please do. Do you know what, mate? I can't find that T-shirt. Otherwise, I'd wear that next week. I
I'll
can't
find
find it.
my I'll find my shirt and I'll wear it next week.
All right, Jack. As always, mate. It's always a pleasure. Now for sure. Have a wonderful day, listeners, audience, watchers, whatever you call ourselves. Thank you very much for tuning in, and please be part of this on an ongoing basis. Neil Gaiman this week, next week, all things Star Wars. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.